I've got beef with this. I have some serious beef with this kind of soap opera move that Nottingham Forest has pulled against Gary Neville. But in order to understand exactly why I have the beef, which thank you, I do have the beef. USDA certified. Um, you have to understand a little bit of the Zealandism lore. Okay, I am not a journalist. I won't pretend to be a journalist. I am just a dude that sits here and talks to you about things in the world of football on the internet. You sometimes call me a journalist. Please don't. It's an insult to real journalists. And I don't think that Gary Neville is a journalist per se either. He's a pundit. He's a former player who gets paid to sit there and talk about something that happened in a game. He's not reporting. He's not doing interviews. He doesn't understand AP style, right? But why is journalism important here writ large? Because I feel like it is a little bit in danger. But your Zealandism lore is that I actually have a degree. I have a couple. I did have a life before this. I have a graduate degree in broadcast and digital journalism. So I do know AP style. I choose not to do it in this career, right? And I do know, the rigors of journalism, and I could write a proper investigative reporter piece, or I could do a quick TV live hit to give you the details on a house fire in rural Des Moines, and I could do that in a very professional journalistic way. I understand what it takes to do that. I understand the rigors that you have to go through to do that. And I am very, very worried by the precedent that is being set by Evangelos Marinakus and Nottingham Forest. And I'm worried about that as somebody that is friends with a lot of people in the profession and understands the importance and the rigor that goes into it when it's done right. Because Evangelos Marinakus is somebody I kind of like. I mean, he's a larger than life character. He's the guy that went on the field to ask a question to Nuno Espirito Santo after the Taiwo Awoniyi injury, right? He's a good owner. He's led Olympiacos to a Conference League title. He's led Nottingham Forest to the cusp of the Champions League. This guy's the type of guy you'd like to have him own your team. He's also morally questionable, which to me makes him kind of interesting. Sure, he could be an absolutely terrible guy. It's possible that he might be, and I think that he is definitely the person behind this decision because he is such a force of personality. But full transparency, I find the guy interesting. But he's made the decision to ban Gary Neville from the stadium. Basically, Gary Neville was going to be part of a commentary team for Sky Sports for the game between Nottingham Forest and Chelsea, which is a very important game with Champions League implications. Both teams have to win to get Champions League. If Chelsea wins, they're in. If Nottingham Forest wins, they need help from Villa, I think. Right, but it's a very important game, so they want the A team there, and they're going to have them pitch side. And then they get word, Sky Sports gets word, that Nottingham Forest is not going to allow Gary Neville into the stadium. I was informed yesterday by Sky Sports that Nottingham Forest would not give me accreditation or access to the stadium as a co-commentator. I've had no choice but to withdraw from the coverage, is basically what Gary Neville said. Sky Sports has pivoted. They've called it, unprecedented, ridiculous, to paraphrase. But they've pivoted their coverage back to the studio. Gary Neville's still not going to be a part of it, which I think is a weird move, because the studio, last time I checked, is not in the stadium. But this is all, far as I can tell, coming on the heels of Gary Neville saying that Nuno Espirito Santo should resign. That Nuno Espirito Santo should resign after all he's done for the club and the success he's helped create, after Evangelos Marinakus came on the field and had a word with him. Now, I defended Marinakus in this situation, and I disagreed with Gary Neville. But I didn't ban Gary Neville from coming to talk to me or from being around anything in the first place. I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, if I was in Evangelos Marinakus' shoes, right, I'd be so focused on the potential Champions League that's around the corner, right? I'd be so focused on this match that's coming up and the team and what can I do and this and that. I wouldn't even be paying attention to who's going to be on the broadcast team that's going to be showing up at the stadium. I don't know why anybody would, other than the person whose job it is to print the name on the tag that you're going to hand to the person so that they can get into the stadium as a member of the media. But the fact that you would take the time out of your day to fixate on somebody that has been critical of you before. I mean, goodness gracious, if somebody leaves a critical comment on one of these videos, it's not like I ban you from ever commenting on a video again. I've never deleted a comment on this channel in my entire life. Although I've been accused of it because some of you don't know that YouTube has Automod. But so if you say something overly heinous, Automod's going to catch it. I always enjoy seeing that sort of thing happen. And also, that's not true. I have definitely reported some of the spam accounts, but I swear some of those girls are real. I think they're just really into my content. So that's, huge news in the world of Zealandism. But why would you even be focused on this? And it was not over-the-top criticism. It's not like he's walking up and down the halls of Sky Sports calling Evangelos Marinakus a crook, calling Nottingham Forest frauds, because I would say there is a threshold where you would want to ban a pundit. Like Paul Pogba would probably want to ban Graham Souness from his birthday party. Right? But if you were playing in a huge Premier League match and you're getting Sky Sports A team to come broadcast it, and you're going to keep Gary Neville out of there because he said that you made a mistake, I think this is a very dangerous precedent. Now, there is a counter argument here, right? It is Nottingham Forest Stadium. They can let whoever they want into their stadium. That is true, legally. But I believe that if you agree to be a part of the Premier League, then you agree to be part of the Premier League with the media and all that's there. Tottenham never kicked out any of those journalists that were asking crazy-ass questions to Ange Postecoglou, writing articles calling him a clown, right, as I'm sure you saw. If you agree to be a part of the Premier League and you take all the good from the Premier League, you should be able to take some mild criticism. I think it is such a dangerous thing to immediately ostracize somebody that criticizes you. This is something that freaks me out. My other degree, it's in history. And obviously, this is a football league here, but if you end up in a situation in history where people start to react this way when they are criticized, it usually never goes well from there. And you need some sort of correction to the system. Because criticism and divergent voices are very important, whether it's football punditry or life. I mean, look at what happens to celebrities when they're surrounded by people that only tell them yes. Look at what happens to billionaires that have the same thing. You need to be able to handle somebody telling you what you did was wrong, you're ugly, you're unfunny, whatever. Because that's part of life and honestly can lead to some self-improvement. Right? Maybe Evangelos Marinakus hears Gary Neville and goes, maybe I shouldn't have gone out in the field and kind of yelled at him. Maybe that wasn't the best idea. Now, I don't think I don't think Santos should resign, but maybe that wasn't the best idea. It's like an old Bill Burr skit where you get in a fight at a bar and you were talking too much trash and you get punched in the face. You're really mad right when you get punched in the face, but somewhere on the drive home, you have a moment of reflection when you're like, yeah, I probably deserved it a little bit. I feel like a lot of healthy criticism is like that. It really is. I think it's ridiculous that Nottingham Forest is banning Gary Neville from going into the stadium. And I think it's a dangerous precedent. And one huge reason that I've kind of saved for the end here, even though I might talk about it for a few minutes, so this isn't really the end, is because now, if you are covering this game, if you're covering Nottingham Forest, if you're covering Evangelos Marinakus, this has a chilling effect. Even if it's not conscious, you will subconsciously give them a little more leeway because you are aware now of the potential ramifications of this. You are aware now of the potential ramifications of bad-mouthing the team, the potential ramifications of talking smack, of maybe even saying your mind, or potentially, in this case, saying the right thing. Saying what a lot of people were thinking. But now there's a chilling effect on that. That now all of a sudden everybody's aware that Nottingham Forest has this power to keep people out of the stadium and they are not afraid to use it. The solution here, I think, is pretty simple. I think that the Premier League should be in charge of who's accredited to the stadiums, and that if you are a part of the Premier League or the English Football League in general, you have to accept who the Premier League has accredited. This is a good, non-biased third party that will prevent clubs from being able to manipulate media coverage in their favor by banning journalists or pundits that they do not like. Right? The Premier League will be in charge of that accreditation, or the English Football League, and the clubs, as part of, the kind of agreement you sign off on to participate in the league, will have to agree to that. Right? And that for 99.9% of clubs and people, they wouldn't even blink twice signing off on that. The only person that might not would be Evangelos Marinakus. And maybe there might be a few more owners that are looking at what happens with Marinakus pulling this stunt. And if it works, I could imagine a club like Manchester City starting to, somebody said an oil club joke one time, let's not let them in the stadium sort of thing. This is the canary in the coal mine. It's a test case. And I'm telling you, it sucks and it's dangerous. And I don't like it, even if it seems a little banal. And I get it. You get criticized, you want to react. And I get that they own the stadium and you can do whatever you want with it. I just think within reason, as long as it's not like Graham Souness with Paul Pogba, the criticism is what Gary Neville gets paid to provide, critical analysis of what's going on. He did his job. And if you're running a Premier League club, there's going to be a million pundits doing their job, saying you did a great job or saying you did a terrible job, and usually both. You got to be able to handle that without reacting like this, because now it brings even more attention to it. We didn't know you were so thin-skinned before this. Now we know.